Investing in Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, this has been a wonderful way to make lots of money over a pretty long period of time. But what about all of those other companies that do amazing things that you just simply don't hear that much about? In this short podcast, I'm going to introduce you to 3 companies that I've often thought, I wish I could own those, or I'd love to own those companies. These 3 companies don't get as much of the news headlines as I would like to see, but I think that's okay because it gives us a chance to pop them on our watch lists. Stay tuned as we make our way through these 3 companies. Hi, I'm Owen, the host of the Australian Finance Podcast. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BetaShares, one of the leading providers of ETFs here in Australia. Serving thousands of financial advisors and over 1 million investors, BetaShares manages tens of billions of dollars on behalf of investors right across the country. I'm proud to partner with BetaShares on the Australian Finance Podcast, Australia's premier financial podcast, because there is great alignment in the long-term philosophy shared by both businesses. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast. The first company is a company you probably know. This is probably one that you've seen around, maybe you've even shopped there, and it is Costco, which trades under the ticker symbol COST. Otherwise known as COST. Costco is a $660 billion company. If you put that in Australian dollar terms, if you added up both Woolworths and Coles and you multiplied it by 10, it still wouldn't be as big as Costco is globally. The crazy thing about this is Costco doesn't have that many supermarkets. It's not like it's every suburb in every country or something like that. Costco is a global warehouse business operating predominantly in North America, the UK, and other parts of the world, including a small presence here in Australia. Costco's business is built on 3 core principles as far as I see it. Number 1, if you've ever shopped at Costco, you'll know that when you walk in the door, you have this kind of overwhelming sense, this feeling that you're about to do something that's pretty fun. You see big, bright TVs, white goods, and other things that you think they're really good, and I wonder if they're cheap. This brings me to point number 2. Costco is not actually cheap. Unlike, say, Aldi or one of the other discount retail stores that you might go to, if you've ever walked out of Costco, you'll know you'll be walking out with a lot less money than you went in. And that's because Costco is not focused on cheap products, it's focused on good value. That's why you walk around the warehouses and you'll see that there's really only 2 brands of each type of thing, like 2 brands of nappies, 2 brands of chocolates, 2 brands of shovels, whatever you're going to buy that day. But interestingly, one of those brands is almost always Kirkland Signature, which is Costco's home brand. Unlike other retail stores or supermarkets, Costco's home brand is actually pretty good. In fact, it's probably one of the best home brands you've ever come across. And the reason for that is that Costco actually uses the Kirkland brand to keep the other brand that's on the shelf more accountable. So say, for example, if there's a really good brand name that you know and love, and you want to buy it, so you go to Costco and you think you can buy it in bulk, but you know that if it was just that one brand operating in the market, they could charge whatever they want. So what Costco might be inclined to do is go to the number 2 player in the market and say, hey, can you build us a product like nappies that's just as good as the number 1 player? The only difference is we're going to wrap the Kirkland Signature brand around it. And if you do that for us, we're going to make sure that it gets one of the 2 prominent positions on shelves and virtually guarantee you billions of dollars of sales. So naturally, that brand wants to do it, and it creates a great consumer experience. Number 3 is, of course, the hot dog and the refillable drink that you get on the way out of a Costco store. Kind of like IKEA, except it probably tastes better, and it probably leaves you feeling better. When you've left the store, you've packed your stuff in the extra wide car parks that are available at a Costco warehouse. You jump in the car and you can eat your hot dog. Of course, you can eat it in the warehouse too. But one of the reasons for this is that when you're driving away with all of your goods in the back of your car and you think, geez, I just spent a lot of money, you don't feel nearly as bad because you've got that hot dog to keep you company, and it kind of extends the good feeling of shopping at Costco. One of the remarkable things about Costco is they charge people to spend money with them. Think of any other business that you have to pay in order to pay them more. There aren't too many of them around the world. Costco is one of those unique businesses in that you pay a membership fee, which covers, by the way, about half of the company's profit. And in order to do so, you then go and spend more money because you've just made a commitment to an annual membership fee of like $60. So Costco's created this wonderful way where the consumer pays just to pay them more. It's a really wonderful business model. Over the past 20 years, Costco's revenue has grown from about $40 billion to $270 billion. But Costco does not target blistering growth. They're not trying to shoot the lights out every year. They're looking for sensible long-term growth. That's because they want to ensure the customer experience and the cultural experience of everyone that works at Costco is always exactly what they want. That's why you don't see a lot of store closures or warehouse closures. It's why you see Costco growing methodically and sensibly over the long term. However, Costco's growth and success is no secret. That's why this is a business that I'd love to own, but I just can't bring myself to do it right now. At nearly $1,000 per share at the time of recording, a fair value for Costco, if you follow value investing principles, is probably like $600 or $700. So it's a bit above that. Now, that's not to say that you should sell. I don't think that at all. I think that valuation is only one part of long-term investing. But I do think that if you're going to invest, you'd only want to invest a very small amount just to say, hey, I own some Costco shares. But the other thing to keep in mind is that over time, you might get a better opportunity to buy shares if you're just a little bit more patient. In any case, Costco is a business that I love, and it's a stock I'd love to own. It's just a little bit expensive. I want to change gears a minute. Now I want to ask you one thing, and this is going to seem really weird. When was the last time you peeled a grape? I know what you're thinking. Peeling a grape? Is that a bit weird? What's he talking about? Maybe you're thinking, why could anyone even peel a grape? Is that even possible? It's so thin and small. Well, good news is you don't have to, because there is actually a robot that can do it for you, and it's called Da Vinci. It's built by a company called Intuitive Surgical, which trades under the ticker symbol ISRG. This business is built solely to perform operations. A surgeon or a doctor can sit inside effectively wearing goggles and perform surgery through a robot. Now, you might be thinking this is something from the science fiction future. Oh, and I don't know what you're talking about. Have you lost the plot? Well, would you believe it? There's actually 10,000 of these machines already performing over 2.5 million procedures a year. Think about that. 10,000 of these machines, 2.5 million procedures a year. This is an absolutely wonderful business, and it's definitely something out of those space age movies that you've watched, where there's a bunch of little arms that hang down and perform surgery on, yes, you guessed it, a human being. Now, Intuitive Surgical is a business that has grown at over 15% for 15 years and has profit margins over 30%. Intuitive Surgical is a business that has grown at over 15% per year. It's grown its sales at over 15% per year, and its profit margins are over 35%. That's not something you come across very often. This is a hyper profitable business. And one of the reasons is that this business has a deep and wide moat. It's probably one of the widest moat businesses that I can possibly think of, meaning its competitive advantage is kind of like second to none. That's because Intuitive Surgical has built up so many years of rolling out these machines safely to hospitals, predominantly in North America, but also now around the world. These machines cost $1.6 million to put in a hospital, which for most hospitals is a massive part of their spending. The machine lasts about 5 to 8 years, but here's the kicker. This business model is just like the old-fashioned Gillette business model of a razor and a blade, where you buy the razor and it's not that expensive, but the blades that you keep needing to refill are more expensive. This business effectively installs a bunch of razors in the form of this wonderful machine inside hospitals. And then as surgeries and procedures take place, they have to get new instruments, update things, and ensure the machine is constantly serviced. But there's one extra thing that makes this business really special. Like most healthcare businesses, in particular medical products businesses, I'm talking about the things that you might see in the hospitals or on the shelves, the machines that you see that doctors and nurses are using. What makes these types of businesses really unique is that in order to use the medical products, doctors, surgeons, nurses, and hospital staff have to undergo significant training and have to have the confidence that they are using a reliable piece of equipment. This means that even as more competitors emerge for Intuitive Surgical's Da Vinci system over the next, say, decade, realistically, they've got decades head start. And even then, there's no guarantee that other surgeons or doctors would use a competing product, because why would they? They don't pay the bill. They want to make sure that they can use an instrument that is safe and they are well trained on. Now, of course, it won't go on forever. The Intuitive Surgical's Da Vinci machine is basically without competition. There are some competitors emerging, including potentially from the likes of Johnson & Johnson or other Medtronic, for example, other businesses that might launch something similar. But it's safe to say Intuitive Surgical has a huge head start on this market. There are risks, and one of the reasons I would love to own this company, but I don't, simply the valuation. The company is a little bit expensive at these share prices. Finally, let's change gears again to another household brand, or at least one you would have seen around. I'm talking about American Express, or AXP is the ticker symbol. Like Intuitive Surgical, this company's market capitalization, that's the value of all of the shares outstanding, is around $200 billion US. It's a big business by Australian standards, but by global standards, it's still a big business, but it's not that big of a business. It's nowhere near the size of Costco, for example. American Express, as you've probably guessed, makes money in two primary ways. It makes money through the card fees and those types of things that happen across its network when you get a credit card and you put that in your wallet, or even when you spend it and you incur fees. The other way is through the interest income that they receive. So the interest income is basically like a banking term, and they earn a spread of the money as it passes through their network. American Express operates a closed loop network. So all of the cards, it basically controls all of the cards and all of the circulation of money on its own network. That's why sometimes when you go to different places, they might not accept American Express because they simply haven't opened up to the American Express card network. And so the payments simply won't go through. Another reason that some merchants don't use Amex or accept Amex is because it costs more to use an American Express. And you might be thinking, well, do people really care about this? I mean, a few years ago, I was like, do people really care about American Express cards anymore? Isn't it like Apple Pay, Google Pay, all these sort of things? Well, American Express has actually been growing really fast in mid-single digits in the premium end or at the premium end of the cardholder market. American Express has been growing fast. The average cardholder of an American Express last year spent over $24,000 US on the card. So these are the types of people that like to have the status symbol of an American Express, but maybe also have higher incomes and are valuable to the American Express kind of global juggernaut of a payment network in many other ways. So they're less price sensitive. They're more willing to spend on things than maybe you and I are. But American Express has also done a wonderful job of cracking into the business. That's the small, medium, and large business networks, because they make it super easy for large businesses to add cards to their account and allow employees to do things like pay for travel and pay for services and things like that. I'll end with saying this about American Express. Over the years, I've thought to myself, I wonder if they're still relevant today, and yet the company is near all-time stock price highs. American Express was founded in 1850. That means in not too many years from now, American Express will be a 200-year-old company. Think about the innovation, adaptability, and kind of the sustainability of this business model, not just over decades, but potentially over centuries. When you buy a business like this that has a super strong competitive advantage, it owns its own payment network, but it also is at the premium end of what consumers really want, well, you end up with a pretty good business model that's super profitable. And that's why American Express, just in the past 2 decades, has grown its revenue by about 8% per annum on average, and its profit margins have been about 25% every year. Talk about clockwork. Now, I would love to own American Express shares, but like with Intuitive Surgical and with Costco, shares are a little bit expensive. If I had to pick from all 3 of these companies, I would probably go a little bit of all of them. Let's say, for example, I wasn't too worried about the valuation and I had a really small part of my portfolio. I might be inclined to just add a little bit to each one. Now, remember, I'm predominantly an ETF investor. I love my ETFs. I build a core portfolio of ETFs. When it comes to individual stocks, I obviously love those too, but it's important that when you build a diversified portfolio, you understand the risks involved, and indeed, picking individual companies for your portfolio, especially if you're a beginner, can be a little bit more risky. So maybe these are best left on your watch list until you study them a bit more. And of course, if you're confused about whether or not you should invest in these types of companies at all, what do you got to do? You got to go and see a financial advisor. A financial advisor can help you understand if investing in these types of things is even worthwhile, or if it's needed. You might not need to invest in any of these types of things in order to achieve your financial goals. So in any case, there are risks. And remember, As with all podcasts on the Rask Network, you don't have to invest just because one of us talks about one of these companies. You can pop them on your watch list and use them as a learning tool to further develop your worldly knowledge of how business and economics works and how incentives matter. One final thing that I'll say is one of Costco's former board of directors and an investor was none other than Charlie Munger, the late great Charlie Munger, an investing sidekick of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, his second biggest shareholding is actually American Express. So there you have it. He bought that in the early 1990s and still holds the shareholding today, which would be worth a cool $41 billion US at the time of recording. Talk about a good long-term investment indeed. Thanks for watching this video on 3 US companies I'd love to own. Thanks for watching this episode of the podcast. If you want to hear more from us, you can get daily videos and podcasts on Rask's YouTube channel, or if you want to enroll in a free course on investing, property, business, money, you name it, you can join over 34,000 other students and enroll in a free course on the Rask website. Simply head to www.rask.com.au and follow the prompts. Thanks for watching this Rask podcast.